Thanks again for joining me here in the living room or the corporate headquarters or whatever you want to call it for Atreyu Running Company. It's difficult to find the words to say because I've had to answer a lot of tough questions over the past 5 or so months, maybe only how many months? From June 5th when I made the video saying goodbye to a beautiful ride, announcing that we would shut down by the end of the year due to the tariffs and the geopolitical uncertainty that was going on. But there was also the emotional part, which is just like, wow, I deeply, deeply cared about this business. I don't think that this was a story about running shoes. It could be a story about my love for running shoes and what people do in them, the person I was able to become in running shoes, in a pair of great shoes, doing a great event or a great training, whatever that was. And I was obsessed with that idea, and I wanted to bottle that idea up and make a brand out of it. And what better way to approach the running industry than with zero experience, which is what I had. So take the time machine back to a town I grew up in and I was living in at the time called Lake Charles, Louisiana. And I was getting sober and my mind was working right. I was about 26 years old. This was more than a decade ago. So I'm almost 39. I'm 38 right now. But I was getting sober and I had this little hot dog restaurant, this operation that I was so passionate about, but was going to my AA meetings and my outpatient meetings and getting my mind right and going to my restaurant during the day. It was awesome. But I needed something more, and I needed that physical component. And that's when I found running. Actually, my mom called me and she was like, you should go for a run. Like, you have a bad attitude because you just need to go running. It's like, all right, we'll give it a shot. And it changed my life. Some time goes by. I got out of the restaurant business. I moved to Austin with this dream of starting my own running shoe company. And I didn't like the idea that I couldn't do it because I do believe that huge goals are just a series of tiny victories strung together in a meaningful way. I've always said that. Like, you just go from 1 to a 2, 2 to a 3, 3 to a 4, and you work yourself up to a 10 or maybe even 11 or 12, exceeding your expectations. That is the idea that Atreyu is. And I've always tried to instill that into almost every email and every thing that I do, making sure that you know that this is available. Your own restaurant, your own shoe company, college, or studying a trade, or whatever that is that you think is a little bit outside of you and your ability, that's the space that you can go play in. And for me, that's where this started, and that's why I believe it is an idea that continues on even beyond the shoes and the selling thereof, which is something that, again, is just such a small component of the brand, I think, but a part of the brand that I love so dearly. So it's kind of paradoxical. It was about the shoes, but it also wasn't about the shoes, if that makes any sense. So here I am. I just want to give a little bit of airtime to what I think is one of the coolest running shoe lineups of all time from any company, period. And it starts with a shoe called the base model. Oh, hey guys, come on in. Welcome to the Shoe Lab, the home office. I'm pretty sure I have almost everything we've sampled in my size, which is a men's 9. Sample size men's 9 is very common. And I just so happen to be a men's 9. So I'll show you all some of the greats. This is the first, and one of my inspirations was the OG Nike Mayfly. It was a great shoe. Very interesting shoe. But this was the first. Before we were Atreyu, we were actually tried to be called Pennyroyal, Thrifty, and Badass at the same time. I had a cool logo though, I liked that one. The blue came off on the sock, very typical to sample. But these were the amount of miles I put in this one, and these were, the 13 right there, were from the Ironman 70.3 World Championship in Nice, France. So these mean a lot to me. Kind of like becoming more of a company in the second round of samples. This is the original base model. It's like 2 different catchphrases on the same shoe. Keep going, and the battle lies within. Just put them both on there. That's when we went to the Wasp. So that was the original conformation model for what was called the Voyager colorway of the base model. Very special shoe. Atreyu produced around 60,000 pairs of shoes over the course of about 5 years. Just get my cheat sheets so I don't mess anything up. Yeah, 2020 was just base models. And we had all those cool colors. You know, we had the, shout out to Noah for creating that colorway. And then the I Run When I Run colorway was so cool. All Things Must Pass. My brother designed that one. That's his drawing. Fear Only Regret. And it's also on my arm. A lot of great stuff, but nothing really comes close to world famous right there. Butter. That was a good shoe. So many base model colors. But yeah, that was the first year to 2020, 2021. But in 2021, we also produced a shoe called the Artist. Oh man, the Artist. Yeah, that was super cool. The original Artist prototype. I think Rory put some miles on this. They weren't out in time for the Olympic marathon trials that he ran. He actually ran that in the base model. That was wild. That takes guts. Those gold laces, that was cool too. That one got an editor's choice from Runner's World. And then in 2022, we actually designed a trail shoe. The base trail, and I loved that shoe. Kind of underrated, in my opinion. Probably the least amount of shoes we sold were the base trail, but at the same time, they were kind of one of the most loved shoe. The prototyping process was really cool for it, so this was kind of an upper in the beginning. A friend of mine that I trust, Brian Metzler, I was asking him about trail shoes and what his kind of bucket list or shopping list for specs would be, and he was like, just don't overbuild it. You don't need too crazy of a lugs. You're not like traversing the side of a mountain or anything like that. What we're looking for in races are, if you run through a puddle, it needs to be able to drain and be able to feel the ground. Don't like, maybe for your first trail shoe, don't like sever that connection from the trail to your foot, because we were all about, you know, feeling the ground. And he was like, that's going to be great for it. So we're just trying to kind of minimally produce a trail shoe, and it came out to something that I was pretty proud about, actually. And then the final test on the base trail, of course, were these that I ran the Grand Canyon in with Don, Darian, and Shad. I was the weak link in the group for sure, but they got me there. And this was the pair of shoes that I went out, and I always like to confirm each model in a real world situation. So those are very special. We eventually made a daily trainer. Put it out around the same time as the base trail, but I think it was a little bit after. But these have strings all over it because I hung them to make little videos for. But our daily trainer was great. This is my favorite colorway of all time. Little gold accents. Here's some things that people haven't seen before, maybe. Prototype of the race model. This one didn't have the better midsole compound, but was playing around with different patterns for the upper and having a good time doing it. Race model conformations. I always tried to save every single version. Of course, there was the Daily Trainer 2. You know, some colorways I wasn't able to produce. Black. It's kind of a slate gray that I thought was cool. And had we made it to these two, it'd have been game over. But all white, that'd have been so clean. Little British Racing green almost. More shoes than I know what to do with, but I see the as art, you know. We were never able to release the Voyager, of course, but that would have been a great shoe. I'm not one for bragging, but I actually think this would have been maybe in the top tier of trainers in 2025 for sure. It would have already been out by now, I think. And I think it would have received high marks on just about anybody who would want to review it or try it out. It was definitely special. The original lasts that I received, that was cool. I still make little projects from them when I can. You know, overall, like I said, we produced around 60,000 pairs over 5 years. I'd say the base model was probably the best selling simply because it was out the longest and we started with it and kind of had wind in the sails with that through the first 2 years. And then the artist got that Runner's World Editor's Choice, which was really awesome. Such a huge honor coming out of the gates with that in 2021. And then the Base Trail and the Daily Trainer, REI carried, and that was huge for us. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a win. We didn't win on the wall and probably had to revamp a strategy to make REI really work, but in terms of being a learning experience, it was absolutely incredible. And they were really fun to work with, and we had a blast traveling and kind of tech repping the stores, and all great memories with that. And then moving into kind of the more refined versions of the Daily Trainer 1.2 and the Daily Trainer 2. I mean, I think we ended on the Daily Trainer 2, which is my all-time favorite shoe. I really do think that it's my dream shoe. I think the Voyager would have been more welcomed in the market for sure. I think that that's what people are looking for these days, that higher stack, 40, 45 millimeter kind of in the heel and everything. But man, there was nothing, like, well, I got into this whole thing because I loved running. I loved feeling the ground, and to build the highest quality product, to like get that whole experience, to me was the Daily Trainer 2. Nothing will compare to it. So of all the shoes, it's the one that we ended on that truly gets me going. And that's this one right here. The team colorway in the Bauhaus red, blue, and yellow, inspired by NASA colorway. This has the whole brand in it. The whole brand ethos, I think, is in this shoe. Honor simplicity on the tab, which we have a registered trademark for. That's real cool. I love registered trademarks. Just a great shoe. I'm gonna miss seeing this one out there, but that's the shoe wall. Hope y'all enjoyed a little tour of it. My messy room made me realize that I need to clean everything up just a little bit. So I hope y'all enjoyed that nice little trip through memory lane. Kind of like the king of self-deprecating humor when I'm off the camera, and I told my wife, I'm like, the only guy I know that takes 5 and 6 months to fire himself. So that was kind of like the way I was going into it, like, it's not gonna be all right, you know, like, it's gonna be I'm just firing myself, like, it'll take 5 or 6 months. But all jokes aside, the most beautiful part of the ride was the past 5 months, and it was because you've reached out, other people have reached out, and they've said the nicest things, because they understand the idea that Atreyu is a little bit beyond the shoes. But I've been working on this thing every day, every night, on my honeymoon, all this, like every day, going to bed with it and waking up with it every day for damn near 7 years now. It's surreal. It's surreal to finally be here, to finally be wound down, so to speak. Yes, sometimes it feels like a loss. Yes, I'm also pessimistic sometimes, and that's okay. But you are the ones that have filled me with optimism, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And so the last thing that brings me into my last point, which is kind of like, what's next? A lot of people say, what's next? Well, I don't have any plans at this point. Like, I like to call it exactly the way that I see it. Like, my only goal was to get here, to sell the shoes, to put as many shoes on people's feet, and to run as many beautiful routes as possible and make good with the inventory. But I want to let you know that I'm moving forward into the unknown with optimism. And I do hope that this isn't the last of me designing footwear. If I ever get the privilege and the opportunity to do it again, I will gladly take that opportunity. So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know where I go from here. But we all get to take this experience and we get to kind of parlay it into what's next. I hope that there's some residual goodness for everyone. I don't know if I explained that right. It sounds even more confusing than just saying we're shutting down. But so yes, we're shutting down, but the idea lives on. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this over the past many years. I know that I wouldn't be the same person without it, and I hope in some way that you've gotten a thing or two from it as well. And I am wishing you well in your own endeavors from here in Austin, Texas. All right, goodbye. The high prices we pay for running shoes these days is bullshit. Ricky Maplethorpe here.
Hey, my name's Noah.
We're winging it from my apartment.
Run the half marathon to simulate what the marathon's gonna feel like at the trials.
Let's go.
Atreyu is going to single purchase only.
Oh man, I thought I was done.
I think Sean just saw his first automated taxi.
This is Adam. This is Lena. This is Nick. This is Andy. And you do one there.
Run group friends are the best friends.
All right. There we go.
It's blue collar running, dog.
Blue collar.
Let's do a little trouble in mine. I got my badge. I just appreciate that you give me a chance to do this, and I don't take it for granted. And if you don't like it, you can send it back. If you do like it, just know that you're supporting a small business, and for what it's worth, I think that the world needs more Atreyus out there